Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Gwei Refuel, where I recap the latest news in the Ethereum ecosystem. I'm your host, Anthony Sassano, and today is the 17th of March 2021. Right, everyone, let's get into it. Actually, before I get into it, I did want to point out something quickly to all of you. So, obviously, a lot of you will have donated on Gitcoin grants at this stage. I've been talking about it for a few days now. But what some of you might not know is that your matching can get boosted if you do what's called a trust bonus. If there's a few different things in here that boost your trust on the platform, which boost your kind of like matching amounts, which I think is very important to do, because if you want your kind of like dollar to go, the longest way it can, then getting kind of verified here is what you need to do. So basically, all you need to do to do this is go to your profile page here. You can see my profile page is here. Go down and you'll see these, menu items. Just click trust bonus, and then it'll come up with all these things you can do. Now, my camera is probably blocking a few of them here, but basically, you can verify with Bright ID, which is like a decentralized identity system. Verify with IDENA, which is a proof of person blockchain. I haven't done that yet. I plan to do that. Verify with POAP. So if you have some POAPs, you can use that. With Twitter, with Google, and with SMS. Now, the more, I guess, kind of like decentralized and I guess like, Web3 oriented these kind of things are, the more they'll count towards the match bonus. So obviously you get the highest match bonus from Bright ID and IDENA. And then with POAP, you'll get, the second highest. And then there's like just a 5%, 2%, and 2% with these three down here. They've got other ones coming soon, and they've got like, a roadmap here as well. But in general, I would do at least, the Bright ID and the POAP. This is kind of like more involved. You have to kind of install some software and verify your account and stuff. That's why I haven't done it yet. I just haven't gotten around to it. But Bright ID is, I guess like it's not too hard to do. There's like these kind of like things where you can get verified, your identity can get verified by groups of people. It doesn't take too long to do. But obviously with the POAP, it's a lot simpler, because you just connect your kind of wallet here, and then it'll read your wallet, see if you got some POAPs in there, and then you can kind of like get this match bonus. But yeah, definitely go do this, because if you don't, you'll be losing out on these kind of bonuses here. And I don't know if Gitcoin makes this obvious to people, because like I've already done it, so maybe they aren't notifying me of it. But yeah, just in case you didn't know, you just basically go to your profile, click trust bonus, and then follow the steps, because there'll be a connect button next to all of these. Then you'll get verified and you'll get that match bonus. Quick plug here for ETH Global. So they're currently looking for 4 different positions here. So if you are interested in working in marketing or growth, partnerships, developer relations, or front-end engineer, then definitely reach out to ETH Global here. All you need to do is follow these steps here. Send an email to hello@ethglobal.co, a document such as a CV, right, or a portfolio, and a description of yourself. ETH Global, for those who don't know, is basically an organization that runs ETH events. So whether those be like virtual events or in-person events, I've spoken about them before. They did like the Hack Money event. They're going to do this scaling event soon. And it's a really awesome team to work for. So definitely, if you are looking for a job and you fit, any 4 of these kind of roles, or if this is what you want to do, then definitely reach out here. And you can click through to get more information about the roles. Like I'll click through to the marketing and growth lead here, and it'll give you all the information that you need, what kind of experience they're looking for, the whole shebang there. So definitely go check that out. So I spoke about yesterday about how Elon Musk was selling an NFT here, or saying he was going to sell this NFT, and it was funny because this tweet actually ended up getting bid on. It's the tweet itself, and I think it was up to like $1.2 million or something like that. But then, Elon replied today, and he basically said, this doesn't feel quite right. Selling this will pass. So he basically rug pulled us, right, on this stuff. But I don't think that really matters, because, as I said yesterday, the fact that he's even talking about NFTs is really bullish right now. I said like how NFTs have like mass appeal as opposed to DeFi. They're going to bring a lot more people in, and they've pretty much gone mainstream at this stage. But yeah, I just thought it was funny that Elon kind of rug pulled us here with this. But, maybe that makes people want it even more. I mean, it makes me want it even more, even though I couldn't afford it. As I said yesterday, I'm sure the bidding would be quite large here. But yeah, pretty funny kind of result there. So Gnosis Safe put out a tweet today, basically saying that they've introduced something called Safesnap. Now, what this is, they're calling it the first in a decentralized governance tool suite for the Gnosis Safe. Basically, what it does is it combines the Gnosis Safe with Snapshot. You may have used Snapshot before. It's kind of like a kind of voting kind of tool for different governance mechanisms. You go on there, you just sign, with your tokens, and you can vote in different protocols. So this basically combines the two, and Safesnap basically enables decentralized execution of crypto governance proposals. So they've got a bunch of different launch projects here, like Synthetics, Yearn, MStable, Balancer, SushiSwap, and there's a bunch of others there too. And you can obviously click through the blog post and read more about it. For those who don't know, actually, Gnosis Safe is a multi-sig wallet that a lot of teams use. Like I use it with, Eric for ETH. We use Gnosis Safe. It's got billions, I think 15 billion plus, worth of ETH and tokens in there being secured there. And it's essentially regarded as like the standard multi-sig wallet on Ethereum. And it's not just the multi-sig. They have something called Gnosis Safe apps, which allows you to basically directly integrate with popular apps on Ethereum and basically do transactions through your multi-sig like that, which is obviously, sorely needed. And now with the Safesnap kind of feature, they're basically expanding that out and letting you participate in governance through multi-sig, which obviously has been highly requested, I think, for a while now, and obviously something that people want to do. I mean, there's plenty of multi-sig wallets that hold a bunch of governance tokens that, even if they wanted to vote, they couldn't, or they might not be able to for various other reasons. So I guess this is what Safesnap tries to address here. And basically, I mean, they've got a pretty diagram here how it works. You can go check this out. It'll be in the YouTube description. But yeah, pretty cool to see more innovation on the governance side here, especially from Gnosis, who have been doing a lot of this stuff for years now. I mean, they've been in the Ethereum ecosystem since pretty much like, they did their ICO, I think, in early 2017, but even before that. So great to see them bring out more products. So Loopring posted this meme today, and actually, I just want to pause here for a second, just quickly say that Loopring's Twitter game is amazing. I love it. I mean, as someone who did Twitter as part of his marketing role at Set for quite a while, I know how, I guess, like, hard it can be to come up with creative tweets that don't feel boring to people, but Loopring's just kind of hitting it out of the park here. So kudos to them for this. But I thought this meme was hilarious because basically there's this, I guess, debate in the Ethereum community right now that layer 2 scaling solutions, particularly Rollups, is going to break composability between, different DeFi apps if they're not on the same rollup. And this is going to lead to, some, I guess, like some negative consequences. And this meme, the bell curve meme where it says the lowest IQ will basically say rollups solve everything. The ones in the middle who are kind of overthinking it and thinking too much about it, they're saying, rollups aren't true Ethereum scaling. It breaks composability. You must have a scalable L1, not L2s. And then you've got like the end of the bell curve here, the smartest people, the end of the IQ bell curve saying rollups solve everything. And, you've probably seen this meme a million times. I don't have to basically explain it, but this is exactly what I think. I think if you're sitting in the middle of the bell curve and you're thinking way too much about this, you're gonna get bearish, right? You're gonna probably say things like, breaks composability. It's gonna change how Ethereum is. It's gonna change how Ethereum kind of scales. And yes, it does in some respects. But I wouldn't say that it breaks composability and that's it, right? I wouldn't say that, yes, okay, it breaks composability between layer 1 and layer 2 for the time being. I don't think it's going to basically break composability forever. And I do think that we can do composability between the different apps, in a synchronous way, in an asynchronous way rather than a synchronous way. What that means is basically that, you know how things like flash loans work, how you can do everything in one transaction on Ethereum, and you could do basically as much as you want as long as you don't take up all the gas of the block, in one Ethereum block, using kind of these flash loans. So, what people say is that with layer 2, you'll break that composability between layer 1 and layer 2 and different layer 2s. And yes, that will break, but there is going to be ways to do that composability in a kind of like asynchronous way where this is how the web essentially works, where you basically send requests. I guess like I'm getting a bit technical here, but the way the web works is that you kind of send requests and then you wait for like an ACK back or an acknowledgement of that request, right? And then you can kind of send through the next request, acknowledgement. I mean, that's kind of like how TCP/IP works. And maybe I'm butchering the explanation there. I'm not an expert on these things, but Generally, you know, I think that's going to happen with kind of like the L1s and the L2s. You could have an L1 that sends a request to L2, right? It's not going to be instant. It's not going to be done on the same Ethereum block, but it'll hold that state, right? Hold that position, and it'll send that request, and then L2 will kind of acknowledge that and send, you know, something back, right? Or acknowledge it, and then L1 sends their next part of their transaction to L2, right? And there'll be this kind of like communication that's going on, and even between the L2s, that doesn't necessarily require that, you know, synchronous communication. And I don't think it's like a death knell for Ethereum or scalability or composability or anything like that. Anyone telling you otherwise is just, you know, either trying to sell you one of these kind of other blockchains, right? Or they just don't understand how the future is going to play out, or how the future... I mean, I wouldn't even say how the future is going to play out, because we already know how it played out in the web world. Like, scaling things, you know, whether they be blockchains or kind of like the Web 2 stuff or the internet in general. I mean, a lot of it comes from the same principles of synchronous versus asynchronous communication. You know, basically with blockchains, we have other things to consider, like state growth and stuff like that, because we obviously want to be able to have everyone be able to run their own node. And that, you know, I guess like that's not really a concern for centralized systems, because as long as they can run the software and run everything on their own hardware and data centers, it doesn't really matter. But at the same time, serving those requests to a worldwide audience, right, is hard, because, you know, I'm sure like all the gamers, you know, watching this have felt it before. If you're connecting to an overseas server for a game, like an online game, your ping will be like really high compared to locally. I mean, I used to play a lot of World of Warcraft, and they actually didn't have Australian-based servers for years. So I started playing on the US servers, and my ping was something like 400 milliseconds, which is 0.4 of a second. And in a video game, that you feel that, right? That, you know, on the web, you don't really feel that, because, you know, page is loading, and you are happy to wait a couple seconds for a page to load. But with a game, you know, even that 0.4 seconds, you feel that as you're playing it. You feel the delay, and it's a crappy experience. So now I get like 20 milliseconds, 20 ms or ping, which obviously, you know, you hardly feel. So, you know, from that respect, I mean, the kind of like having a distributed kind of like set of nodes or set of like kind of data that you want to deliver to people, I mean, it has to be done in a way. And the way they do it with you know, websites and with video games and stuff is that they just centralize everything, right? It's all centralized in massive data centers. You know, you don't have to worry about, you know, Joe Blow with his hardware running a node or whatever, right? You can just run these in massive data centers and pay as much as you want for it. And that's what a lot of these other blockchains actually do, that claim to be more scalable, is they just throw more hardware at it, essentially, right? But by doing that, they have to centralize, and you get what's called super nodes, right? Which is, you know, I guess a term that was created to basically describe nodes that only, you know, I guess people that, I mean, have a lot of money can run, because it's just too expensive for the everyday person to run. And that just kind of defeats the whole purpose of a blockchain, right? You want people to be able to verify that everything is running as expected, because if they can't, you can have what's called a cartel form, where the people actually running the blockchain, the ones running the supernodes, can just lie to you, and you have no way to kind of detect that. So yeah, that's. I mean, I know I got off on a little bit of a tangent there from this meme, but generally that's why we want to maintain the decentralization, and the cost of that is basically not being scalable, right, at layer 1. That's why Bitcoin hasn't increased its block size, because it wants to keep you to be able to run your nodes, right? Everyone to be able to run a node and verify the network. You know, Ethereum lives by that kind of like principle and ideology, but it bends it a bit more, right? I mean, obviously Ethereum nodes are harder to run than Bitcoin nodes. You can still run it on consumer hardware, but it's not as easy. And that's just a trade-off of having a kind of like fully expressive base layer, you know, smart contracts and things like that at the base layer. But again, you know, L1 is never going to scale to meet needs of, you know, the world. And you know, L2s as well. If we're talking about scaling in general, L2s are not a panacea. They're not going to fix absolutely everything, and they're not going to scale us, you know, in I guess like the short term to kind of where we want to be. They do have their own limitations. There is still active research in getting them scaled out more and doing it in different ways. But there's going to be multiple L2s just because of that. Because you can't have everything on one L2. It's just it's not going to work from a scalability perspective. because I can imagine there's going to be so much demand for these networks, and it's going to be like sometime in the future, maybe decades into the future, mind you, probably not anytime soon, we're going to get to a point where there's going to be so much hunger to use these kind of technologies and these networks. We might get to a point where it's like trillions of transactions per second on the network, right? And that might sound like a lot now, because right now Ethereum does like 15 transactions per second, and these L2s can scale up to a few thousand transactions per second using Ethereum. So if we're talking about trillions of transactions per second, well, then we get into like a multi-L2 world, and what people like to call like the multi-chain world. And not everything needs to be on a blockchain either, right? A lot of things don't need to settle to Ethereum, right? But if you've got like high, applications that require high security and high decentralization, which is pretty much a lot of the finance applications, if not all of them, then you will obviously want to settle to Ethereum. You want to be on an L2, which inherits Ethereum security. But if you're just trying to have like some decentralization, right, or at least like as much as you can get, but you don't really care about having like the most decentralized thing in the world, then you will go to maybe another blockchain, right, that is in Ethereum, or maybe you'll go to, I guess a quote-unquote side chain or something like that. But I mean, it's the same thing, really. But you still get like some level of decentralization, but you kind of like won't be inheriting Ethereum security, which I think is fine. I mean, I think you can do like a hybrid approach where, say you have a token, your token's on Ethereum, but your actual app is on something else, right? And you still kind of talk to Ethereum, you can still bridge into it, but because your app requires like a lot of kind of like bandwidth, right? A lot of scalability, maybe more so than L2s can give you, then you might just go to like a more centralized thing. And I'm kind of warming up to that. I kind of think that that's an inevitability, because I mean, I think it was a project called Audius do this, where they're on Solana. Their actual platform is on Solana, which, I mean, I'm not going to bash Solana here or anything like that, but like they have a system which I don't consider to be very decentralized, but because of that, they're pretty scalable, right? But their token is on Ethereum. So, the token's secured by Ethereum, and the Audius platform, which is a music streaming platform, is on Solana, and obviously that works there because music streaming is very data heavy, right? Like very heavy. You can't run that on Ethereum. You probably couldn't run that on an L2 either. So yeah, in that case, it kind of makes sense. And we're going to see much more of that come to market. But maybe one day in maybe a couple of decades, because a lot of this stuff is very new, we may get to a point where L2s can scale like that as well, using some fancy cryptography. That's beyond what I know about, the cryptography involved. But I mean, I wouldn't kind of like call it, impossible, right? Because we've seen a lot of the quote unquote impossible done in the past. So yeah, anyway, I've gone on a kind of tangent there, but I think it's very important to consider all of the different things and the different trade-offs, and there's just so much to think about and talk about there. It's actually really exciting at the end of the day. So Hayden Adams put out a tweet today where Uniswap is still dominating centralized exchange volume. So they're doing 60% of the decentralized exchange volume, which you can see here on this chart. Their second closest or second place is SushiSwap, third is Curve, fourth is 0x, fifth is Bancor, and then sixth is Balancer, and there's a bunch of other ones underneath it. The interesting thing about Uniswap is that they don't actually do liquidity mining, right? SushiSwap still does liquidity mining, where they pay out sushi rewards, and Curve still does it with CRV rewards. 0x, I don't believe, does it, but they've only got 5.7% market share. Uniswap almost has 60% here. But on that note, and not to go against what Hayden said here, but on that note, to be fair, a lot of projects, right, do liquidity mining for their own tokens on Uniswap. Now, I don't think that's like that's just something to keep in mind, but I don't think that accounts for most of the volume on Uniswap. The top pools are basically those that, Bitcoin and Ethereum, the DPI, which does have liquidity mining on it, but it's like 8% APY or something like that. It's nothing too crazy. And there's a bunch of other kind of things there. But yeah, I think that would still account for like a healthy chunk, but it's still good to see that Uniswap is dominating, even though they don't have any of their own liquidity mining, right? Which can't be said for, a lot of the other ones. Like pretty much all of these, except 0x and except Kyber, I think have liquidity money. I'm just looking through the list. Yeah, I think pretty much most of these, at least the ones that have decent volume. So yeah, really, really cool to see that. I made a joke here saying, you know, Hayden, where's V3? Because like, I mean, Hayden's been tweeting a lot more lately. Maybe he's kind of like waiting for audits to come back for V3. I don't know. You know, we you know, it's what, 17th of March today. You know, I think a lot of teams tease that they'd be coming out in March. You know, Optimism, right? V3 is rumored. You know, they never really teased it for March, but it's rumored to be coming out in March. You know, I think there's a bunch of other kind of scalability solutions as well, kind of coming out there. But yeah, maybe we'll see what happens there. But great to see Uniswap still kind of like dominating here as their pretty amazing kind of exchange, right? You know, the first kind of decentralized exchange using the AMM model. Maybe not the first, actually. I had some people saying that Bancor was first, and I'm not going to get into Bancor because Bancor is a funny project from 2017. I mean, I know they've been building through the bear market and they have products out there that they've been releasing to market, but for those of you who were around in 2017, Bancor wasn't really a community favorite. They did their ICO, which was one of the biggest ICOs on Ethereum. And what they did actually, I remember this because I was participating in this, mid-ICO, they kind of raised the cap, I think, if I remember correctly, on how much they were raising. And this kind of like altered the terms of the deal, so to speak, right? And no one really liked that. And then in 2018, I'm pretty sure they expanded to EOS, and people were like, "What the hell are you expanding to EOS for? This is stupid." So they kind of like got a lot of community flack over the years. But I do believe they were the first AMM on Ethereum. Uniswap just went ahead and popularized it because of, I think, during a bear market, you know, alienating the people that were around by going to EOS and stuff like that was not a great thing to do, and more people were interested in providing liquidity to Uniswap because they felt Uniswap was very aligned with Ethereum. Now, I think the narratives have kind of changed here. You know, I don't like dislike Bank or anything like that. You know, they're doing a lot of great work. Their products sound, from what I've seen, they have some smart investors on board, right? So yeah, nothing against them there, but yeah, I mean they're growing too, right? They're 5.3% of the volumes here. And another tweet that Hayden put out was about the UniGrants program. So I've spoken about this grants program before, and I've spoken about how Uniswap has, I think, $1 billion plus worth of uni in their treasury right now. And the grants program is one way that they're dispersing this. So they put out a kind of like update here saying that they had paid out the first $750,000 worth of grants to 23 different teams. Across like event sponsorships, community grants, usability grants, tooling grants, requests for product, and challenge grants as well. Cool to see that in the event sponsorships, they're sponsoring Gitcoin grants round 9. Really awesome. They're sponsoring it at the ETH Global NFT event. Community grants, there's a bunch of things here like uni development course they've given $25,000 to. Usability grants, APY Vision, which is a very popular website. They've given $82,000 to. I mean, there's a bunch of other things here. And I wrote about more of this in the Daily Gwei newsletter today, so you can go check that out for more details here. But really great to see that the uni, I guess, treasury is giving back to the ecosystem here. And on the grant side, Compound has announced that they've opened applications for their Compound Grants initiative here. So if you want to go apply to this, you can. I'll leave the link in the description below. So the first spec for the first ETH2 HardFork is out, and this is called Stargazer. Now, I've spoken about this before, how ETH2 is going to have its first hard fork mid-year to add a bunch of different kind of like features to fix a few things with the beacon chain here. So yeah, I mean, this is really, really cool, right? Because we're getting like parallel kind of things here where ETH1 is chugging along. Berlin's coming out next month. We've got London coming in July, hopefully. And in the meantime, we have all the development happening on ETH2 with the first hard fork here, the sharding work going on, merge work going on. I mean, and then on top of all of that, we have like layer 2 work going on. We have DeFi, we have NFTs, we have DAOs, we have social tokens, we have, you know, human coordination stuff. So much stuff going on right now, it's hard to keep up. But on the protocol side of things, it's quite amazing to see like how, you know, how quickly this stuff is moving on both ETH1 and ETH2. So really awesome there. If you want to go check this out, you can. It's got, you know, more details about what's going to be included in this hard fork. So Zapper, so I should say, sorry, full disclosure here, I'm an investor in Zapper, I'm an advisor to Polygon, but I'm talking about them today because Seb from Zapper has teased that they're going to have basically cross-chain and L2 integration right in the Zapper dashboard. So you can see here that they've got Polygon selected as their network to swap from like ETH to DAI, which is really, really cool. And then they kind of like tease down here that they're going to be supporting Optimism as well. So this is, as I was saying before, there's going to be like cross L2, L2 to L1, cross chain, right? All this sort of stuff happening, like L2 to other chains, L2 to L1 to other chains. There's going to be so much of this stuff happening. It's going to be crazy. So it's great to see Zapper getting on board with this, early on. And that's why I kind of like did the eyes thing here and like here as well for Optimism. And I'm sure they're going to add other L2s like when they come out, like Arbitrum and Immutable X and Starkwear's things as well and everything else. I mean, supporting L2 is and other kind of like, I guess like other chains is how Ethereum kind of like wins as well, I think, and how your app wins. Because, a lot of people kind of like, I guess, think I'm an ETH maximalist or an Ethereum maximalist. I mean, I wouldn't consider myself that. For me, Ethereum obviously has the most network effects, has the greatest market share in terms of smart contract platform, and has all that good stuff. I'm not going to go through it all. And keeping up with Ethereum, I mean, I do this refuel, right? I do my daily newsletter. I spend all day in this ecosystem, and I still miss things like in Ethereum. I just don't have time to keep up with other chains. It's as simple as that. So if that makes me a maximalist, then so be it. I don't really care. But I don't think that's the meaning of a maximalist. I think a maximalist is someone who thinks everything else is a scam, and that their chosen kind of like network or coin is it, right? And it's usually like Bitcoiners that do this. I'm not like that at all, right? I mean, I'm an advisor to Polygon, and Polygon right now, with their current implementations, it's not. I mean, it's a hybrid between like a sidechain and a layer 2, but it's not like a true layer 2, so to speak, yet, right? They will be releasing true layer 2s in the future, and that's one of the reasons I jumped on board as an advisor. But again, I'm happy to kind of like see these other ecosystems blooming and feeding back into Ethereum, because I don't believe it's a zero-sum game. I do believe it's a winner-takes-most market in terms of value. I do believe ETH is going to capture a lot of this value in the long run, and I do believe that Ethereum will remain the most secure and decentralized network in existence, even more secure than Bitcoin once we go to proof of stake. I'm not afraid to say that. But still, we're going to have these other networks, and ZapperFi supporting them, or Zapper supporting them, is the right move, in my opinion. So, yeah, really great to see this. So Daniel, this is a guy on Twitter, posted this funny picture today where he got a message from one of his friends that said, "Bro, I've been scratching the surface with research on DeFi, and I feel like I just got pranked for the last 4 years of studying finance and aspiring to traditional finance careers." What more perfect way to put this? He just got pranked, right? Because you do. Like, imagine studying traditional finance and then coming into DeFi and being like, what? Like, this is about to disrupt absolutely everything, and what the hell am I doing with my life? I need to go into DeFi. I see a lot of people feeling like this right now, and I've heard a lot of people feeling like exactly like this, and it's so true, right? Imagine, seeing and learning about how kind of like slow and kind of crappy the old system and the traditional system is, and then coming into DeFi and seeing that we've basically built this amazing ecosystem, which is 1,000 times better than the existing financial system or the traditional financial system, and and how can you not feel like you got pranked or trolled into believing that was the future? It's like, imagine if you went to like school in the early 2000s, and they were kind of like showing you how to use a fax machine, and then it's like, and then you discover email, and you're like, what the hell? Why am I learning how to use a fax machine? So it's kind of like that. But I just thought this was a pretty funny tweet here, and I expect to see so many more people, cluing into this and realizing that the traditional finance system, I mean, it's not a scam. It's not, particularly, I guess, bad for what it does. But I mean, it's so much worse than DeFi, right? If you're just comparing the traditional system to itself, then sure, it's okay. I mean, it gets the job done in some way, even though it's slow, clunky, expensive, crappy, right? And then you see DeFi, and you're like, holy shit! Like, yes, it's expensive. The gas fees are high. I know. Don't. You don't have to remind me. I get reminded about it every day, please. But it doesn't matter. What matters is that DeFi is very, very, very early, right? Extremely early. And the fact that we're already 1,000 times better than the traditional system is a testament to just how much, how much better DeFi is for building on. Open source, decentralized, all that sort of good stuff there. So yeah, pretty interesting tweet today that is pretty funny. So a new project called Rollups wallet kind of announced themselves today, and they're on the App Store. You can basically download this wallet. I've downloaded it, but haven't checked it out yet. They claim to be using ZKSync as a wallet. So basically, the wallet is using ZKSync's layer 2 technology, and you can do instant ERC20 transfers because it's layer 2, and kind of ETH transfers as well. And it's obviously way cheaper on fees here. Now, just word of caution, I haven't checked this project out for myself, and it is brand new. I'm not going to say it's a scam or anything like that, but be cautious about putting too much value into these things yet, because I'd like to see more people do research on this and kind of like, give it the tick, so to speak, because it is a brand new project and it is using a brand new kind of thing with layer 2. So yeah, just caution there. But if you want to go play with it, maybe put like $10 in it or something like that, or $50 or whatever, and have a look, because this is very interesting, and I'm definitely going to check it out myself. And actually, I wonder why they have this kangaroo kind of logo here. Is it because they're Australia based? I mean, they say global here. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they aren't Australia based. I don't know. But that's just a funny little thing I just noticed then. So Ethereum cat herders put out update number 40 here. For those who don't know, the cat herders are basically a bunch of people who follow ETH1 protocol developments very closely and kind of put updates out about it and keep you up to speed with it. So the TLDR was that the Berlin upgrade was announced, obviously. The Ropsten testnet forked to Berlin. Gurley will be forking today, actually. Updates on 1559, which was approved for London. ETH2 stuff as well, which is cool to see. And a recap of the community call and stuff like that. So if you're interested in keeping up with all the stuff happening in ETH1 and ETH2 on the protocol side of things, go check out this post. It'll be linked in the description. So Scott Lewis tweeted out about NFTX today. So NFTX is a NFT kind of like index protocol, and disclosure, I hold some of the tokens. But what I thought was interesting about this tweet is that they have an index called Punk-Basic. And what this is, it basically wraps a bunch of quote unquote floor crypto punks. So I guess essentially the cheapest crypto punks you can buy, and puts them into an AMM liquidity pool against ETH, and it brings liquidity to these things. So basically you can actually now buy or sell one of these punks using kind of ETH on this AMM, and the slippage is just 1.6 kind of like 3%, as he says here. So basically gives you instant liquidity to buy one of these floor punks or to sell one of them to kind of the market here, which is really, really cool. I actually think that NFTX, I mean, the reason why I hold the tokens is because turning NFTs into like index funds and wrapping them and doing this sort of stuff is an obvious killer use case, because NFTs by their nature are not liquid because they're non-fungible. So you have to wrap them into like a liquid instrument that you can get trading on. So yeah, definitely very interesting to see this here, because, obviously CryptoPunks have blown up. They've become like a staple in the NFT ecosystem. Technically, they're not the first NFT anymore, because there's been people doing like some chain archaeology and finding earlier NFTs. But I would consider them to be the first kind of like NFT that actually kind of took off, right? And actually people actually valued and kind of like there's a story and community behind it. So very interesting to see that. But yeah, cool to see that there's more liquidity for the Punk Basic Fund here. All right, that's it for today, everyone. Thank you again for listening and watching. Be sure to give that video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, join the Discord server, subscribe to the newsletter, and I will catch you all tomorrow. Thanks, everyone.